Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And this is the interview that I don't think anybody thought would happen, at least not as quickly as it happened. It was only a couple of weeks ago that Tucker Carlson and what's her name? Oh my goodness, that black chick, Candace Owens, kind of buried Nick Fuentes on his show. Going so far as saying he's a gay kid in his mom's basement, and who is he? He's irrelevant, and he's got weird sexual ideas, and blah blah blah. I mean, they really went personal on him. Candace saying she wanted to take him out to dinner because he seemed lonely. I mean, it was just bullshit. And then Nick, of course, goes nuclear on Carlson and on Candace, and that's how this little feud started. But of course, it was over. And Tucker has Nick on last night, and it was over 2 hours. Over 2 hours. It was like watching a movie almost. And the thing about this show that Tucker has in all of his interviews, if you watched them, I only watched a few, is that it's not really an interview process. He's not asking a question and then waiting for an answer. And this is the brilliance of how Joe Rogan changed media. Rogan changed the way guests are treated on shows, where he doesn't ask you a direct question and want you to answer it because, sometimes if and I've been in the business, so I know I've been in green rooms where I've had to do what they call cold interviews, and it can go very, very bad, go pear-shaped very quickly. But if a guest doesn't want to answer a question, they can be a pain in the ass, and they can ruin the interview, and they can waste everybody's time, and they can destroy the segment. But the way Rogan is doing it, the way Carlson is following suit, is it's more of a chat. It's more of a discussion that they're having, a conversation, whatever you want to call it. And there's dialogue, and they kind of go back and forth, just like a couple of guys at a bar. And it works. Carlson's pretty good, because he doesn't come off as smug or condescending. I call him Uncle Tucker here because he was really, he was understanding to Nick. He gave him a little pushback here and there, a little pushback, and he gave him some advice. Nick came off a little at times childish. Well, you started it, you did it, and Tucker Carlson, in the stoic manner, would say, hey, silence is power. Well, he didn't say this because he's not Marcus Aurelius, but, silence is power. Who cares what people say about you? It's none of your business what people think about you. And that's the way we all should think. Now, Nick doesn't. And listen, he's very young. He seems like a bright guy. He does have ideas that are not in the mainstream as of yet. But he is now becoming, as the days go by and as the interviews go by, people are starting to see that this is not some nut job screaming out, kill the Jews, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. He's not doing that. He's not saying that at all. He's just asking questions about, why do we support these certain people from this certain country? Why do we support them more than we would support Sweden or Belgium? Why do we have this special relationship with these people and only these people? They offer us nothing. And why is there a concerted effort? And you're going to see here in this clip about how the Daily Wire initiated this whole thing. How Ben Shapiro, who is as irrelevant as it gets now, and this Cassie Dillon, who, she's just a whore for the Wailing Wall. How they created the Nickinator. They created this monster that they cannot stop. They try to destroy a nobody. And he's going to tell you in this segment here from the interview that we have. They took a kid that was in college, 18-year-old boy. They tried to destroy him. They tried to ban him from platforms and get his bank account seized and all this other shit, fired from jobs. And they created something that they never could have imagined. They created a voice 10 times theirs. And it's destroyed them. The Daily Wire is a joke. I mean, it's imploding as you speak. I mean, I think this Matt Walsh is even considering leaving. And then, I mean, I don't care about Matt Walsh. He's just he's a cuck, if you ask me. But they inadvertently created the America First movement. Not Nick Fuentes. It was those morons. They did, it's almost like, I don't want to compare Nick to Jesus because nobody's Jesus, but it's almost what the Pharisees did with Jesus. Had they just left him alone, let him preach, say, hey, he's crazy, he's nuts, just ignore him, who knows what would have happened, right? If these people had just said, hey, this guy Nick Fuentes he's just some stupid kid at Boston University. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Just ignore him. Most likely people would have ignored him, and we may not have heard about this guy. But no, they are so resolute on defending Israel more than they are America that they went after this kid when he was just a boy. And they created a monster, a good monster. We hope it's a good monster. That is right now an unstoppable force in America. And he's getting all these kids between the ages of 18, well, even younger, maybe 18 and 30. They're listening to him. And they're going to vote. And they are going to avoid joining the military because they're seeing that we don't want to fight wars for Israel. And they are going to be a thorn in any type of Jewish or Israeli friendly organizations because they're not going to vote for people who are being supported by AIPAC or any of these other Jewish affiliates or donors. And it's all started with this guy. It didn't start with anybody else. Many, many years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even longer, Pat Buchanan was a voice for it. But again, he was shut down by the mainstream media. This guy has social media and the mainstream media talking about him. And it's spreading like wildfire. And he's only, 26, 25, 26? He is far more relevant and advanced than that milquetoast moderate Charlie Kirk ever was. Because his message resonates. He asks the questions. He challenges people. And I'm going to point out later in this, after we see this little segment here, how brilliant he handles himself when he's confronted. Because he doesn't come off as this angry white guy. He comes off as cordial, calm. He keeps his emotions in check. He is the embodiment of what the Stoics wrote about. Never argue. Don't lose your cool. Stay calm. Always think before you speak. And that's what he does. Now, he's got some improvement to do, of course. He's not, like I said, he's not Epictetus or anything. But he's close. He's getting there. Now let's watch this clip here. This clip is about the time when he first met Cassie Dillon and the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro tried to destroy him. This is a clip from the Tucker Carlson show for educational purposes. Of course, here is Nick Fuentes.
I tweeted to Ben Shapiro. I said, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is even before I started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism.
There's a mistake by Shapiro. You can't race bait or whatever the Jews want to consider themselves. The guy had an opinion. He's 18 years old. He should have ignored it. Trust me, I've been on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I see a lot worse said about Jews than that. That's wholesome. That's not even that's just a question that an 18-year-old boy would have. And for Shapiro to go out of his way, and for a tweet that wasn't really, I mean, it didn't go viral, as Nick says. Why would he do this? It's almost as if they're trying to make this guy big. They're trying to give him a career. And they so far succeeded.
And like, this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. So I'm driving to Christmas Eve Mass with my family. And I see on Twitter, the notification comes up, Ben Shapiro quote tweets me, calling me an anti-Semite. And I was like, what is this? Like, why is this guy attacking me? You know, because I don't have a platform at this time. I'm not an influential guy or anything. And so then I put out another tweet similar. I said something like, if you're China first, you should live in China. If you're Mexico first, you should live in Mexico. If you're Israel first, maybe you should go live in Israel.
And that's the trigger. You can't say that. You can say all you want. If you're French first, live in France. You're British first, live in Britain. German first. Nobody will blink an eye. You talk about Israel like that and not being willing to defend them with your blood, you are insulting these people. You are going to be accused of everything hell and high water. And again, the mistake was that they thought this kid would just go away. But Apollo Creed made the same mistake with Rocky. He thought, I'll knock him down, he won't get up. And the man kept coming. This kid just keeps on coming. Now we have to pray that somebody doesn't go Charlie Kirk on him. That's what we have to pray for. But I have a feeling that unlike the whole Charlie Kirk thing, because Charlie Kirk is dead, nobody cares about him anymore. Nobody's talking about him, nobody cares. With this guy, it might almost be like you kill one Nick Fuentes, 10 more pop up, 15 more, 50 more, 100 more. Now you have a problem if you're the other side. You have a major problem if you're Ben Shapiro. Not that Ben Shapiro is relevant anymore, but whatever.
And again, he quote tweets me and says, you're an anti-Semite.
That same night?
This was, I think, a couple weeks later. Happened a little bit further down the line. And so...
Were you surprised that he knew you were?
Yeah, I was. I was surprised at why he cared.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, how does he even know who I am or what I'm about? And it turned out that Cassie Dillon, she had texted him earlier and she wanted him to take me under his wing. She texted him after that debate and said, you know, you really like this guy. He's amazing. He did this great debate. She goes, but he's a little too pro-Trump. He's a little too Trumpy. And he goes, I'll take a look. And so I guess the two of them were kind of like grooming me in a sense. They wanted me to go maybe and be a Daily Wire or maybe looking me as a potential conservative activist or influencer. And so they started paying attention to me. And the more critical of Israel I was, I started to get this really intense pushback from the both of them and from a lot of the people at Daily Wire.
Why do you think, so you're an 18-year-old college freshman, you're clearly talented and you're engaged, you're really interested, and you ask not crazy questions like, what is this? Mm-hmm. And rather than explain it, they just call you a racist, call you an anti-Semite. Like, that's the first response. That seems like the least effective. Well, it turned out to be not very effective in your case.
Carlson, as I said, he's coming off as the calm uncle, you know, at the Christmas party. And what he says here is very true. The attack on Fuentes was, first of all, not called for, and also it was not helpful. It didn't make their case. And why would you go after this kid? He was a nobody. They made him a star. A star that's bright and shining over them and putting them in the shadows. They've ruined themselves. Tucker.
But that seems like the least effective thing you could do. Why do you think they did that?
Well, I think that you have to look at it not in retrospect, because hindsight is 2020. And so looking back, you could say they made a terrible mistake because look at sort of what they provoked or what they catalyzed. But at that time, you got to consider, I'm 18 with no following, with no network. I'm coming from the suburbs of Chicago. My parents didn't go to college. I have no connections. And so for them, it was very easy that if they detected that a promising young guy was going to become anti-Israel in the conservative movement, they could crush that person easily and grind them under the heel. So they sort of were alerted, oh, there's a precocious young guy that isn't on board with Israel. We'll keep an eye on him. And if he gets too vocal or popular, we'll cut him down. We'll crush him. Because at this time, as you know, in 2017, it's a very different time. 2016, 17, any criticism or dissent on the subject was a death sentence. You became radioactive, unhireable, blacklisted, and that's exactly what happened. And basically from then on, it was just this escalating series of blacklisting, censorship, hit pieces, rumors to try to ostracize me from the movement. And
while you're a college student?
Yes, as a freshman, yeah.
All right, so there you have it. So there's how the Daily Wire operates, and Cassie Dillon, whoever the fuck she is, and that peanut head Ben Shapiro. Now, what I was very, very impressed with was the brilliance of how Nick Fuentes handled this interview. It was done. He came off as likable. He explained himself. I've heard this story probably 4 or 5 times, and it's never changed. So to me, I believe him. And he just comes off as a guy that I know he doesn't drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes and all that. He's pretty clean Catholic. I can't say the same, but whatever. But he seems like a genuine person, and those are the ones they want to attack. They attack they attack and want to destroy the genuine ones, especially if they're Catholic, especially if they're white, and especially if they're men. Heterosexual too helps. He checks off all the anti-woke movement, all the anti-liberal, the liberal anti things they hate the most. And I was very impressed with Carlson. I didn't think that. I thought this would be more of a, back and forth type thing. I thought it would kind of be like that ugly interview with Candace, but it wasn't. I think Tucker's a better interviewer, obviously, than Candace Owens. She's not much of an interviewer. She's a woman, a black woman at that. But Nick, this was a W for both of them. This was a W for both of them. And for Ben Shapiro, we all have to say thank you. He created this monster. He's the one who, out of nowhere, out of nothing, created the Nick Fuentes monster that overshadowed the Daily Wire, him, and anybody else that's with him. All those guys, Dave Rubin, Knowles, fucking Matt Walsh, even that Crowder guy, all of them to the wayside. Nobody gives a shit about those guys because they're run-of-the-mill, boring white dudes. They don't say anything that is provocative. They don't challenge the narrative. And this kid does. And Ben Shapiro is going to rue the day that I think he's ruining it right now, that he ever awakened this beast, this yarmulke eating beast that's coming for him. But I thought the interview was pretty good. I thought it was very interesting. There's a lot of interesting parts to this. He talks about Catholicism. He talks about wokeness. He talks about how feminism is destroying women, and you have this hoe factory now. I think he called it, or hoification of women. It's true. Listen, I'm taking advantage of it as much as I can. But I thought the interview was very, very good. I thought Carlson came off light. I think he came off like an Uncle Tucker, and Nick came off as he always does. He's pretty good at these things. He doesn't allow anybody to get under his skin, and that's the key. Never let them under your skin. Then never let them see your sweat. And there's my 2 cents. Thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Remember, my friends, Satan is always busy. Try to be like Nick. Don't let them get under your skin. Be a man, have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. And remember, somebody should have told fucking Ben Shapiro this. If it ends in an ism, it's a mental disorder. That's right, Ben. You're fucking crazy. We'll see you later.